the effects of it has kind of worn on me since recent tragedies that has taken place here. So I have been struggling emotionally and energetically wise, even when I'm creating, I had to stop. And then when we were finally able to get out and take a walk, we didn't know where we were. So I was spending so much money going to get groceries and, did this and that and the woo-wah, it's just a plethora of different activity. And then I realized that, no matter what happens, this is life. And the fact that this is life, we just have to live as much as we can and take advantage of all the inhales and exhales as much as possible. And, a lot of times we have to fall in love with our fate. I would say 99.9% of the time, the other maybe 0.1% is for introspect, to look at it a little deeper, But that's been my practice there. My practice is just really coming into that and, having to have the conversation that African Americans have to have with their young males, and any, I would say any family would have with their young male coming a teenager. But my son is now 20 years old. He's not a teenager anymore. He's a young man. And so I have to have those conversations with him on how to be in the public. And he has no problem with that. I think with him, he's more of an introvert. And I just tell him to be careful of that too. So it's a sticky situation, but we're with my family, we're plugging through. And so I have to say that I'm well, but we're working one day at a time.
Awesome. Can you all hear me?
I can hear
Yes, you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Brother Malik. That was beautifully put. And just to sum up what I got from it, so basically you had been self-quarantining on and off for a long time. So this didn't really come as a surprise for you.
No.
Because, okay, wow. And also what I got is that your practice afforded you that routine that you could go into work. You had a work ethic. So that's something that kept you going also. The point I also resonate with is that you had to balance family and work. You're being there, but not being there. So that was such an interesting thing. So thanks so much for that. We will come back to our participants with questions if they have questions to ask. And so if you have questions, please just put them in the chat and we'll attend to those once we're done with our panelists. Some very interesting points there I would like to circle back on, right?
Okay.
Thanks so much, brother.
Yes.
Moving on to our second panelist, we've got Suzanne Wang, and she's all the way in Hawaii, Big Island. Suzanne, welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
What was it? Did you ask a question? I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Okay. I was just welcoming you to the panel and saying you're on the Big Island.
Yeah, I live on the Big Island. I've been here for about 10 years. I originally am from the Bay Area.
Okay.
I went to school there and also in New York City. And I've spent time living in China and Connecticut before relocating to Hawaii. And I'm a ceramicist, so I make functional and sculptural work. So I guess I would say I'm more like an artist craftsman. My studio is in my home, but I also fire my work. I have another kiln that I share with another person in the town of Hilo, which is like 20 minutes by car. But I live in the country, right close to the ocean between two rivers. And it's very idyllic and peaceful here. Almost like the people that live here or that come to my village feel like it's like going back in time, like 50 years or something, because it's an old plantation village. They used to be all sugarcane fields here, sugar industry. So yeah, so I've been here, and it's been like a transformative 3 months for me, and I kind of see this period sort of as a blessing for my personal and artistic development, but it's also been really difficult at times. And, like a roller coaster, sometimes, I'll have like a few weeks of like productivity, and then I will feel like this wet blanket thrown over me. And I think what I've noticed through this whole COVID thing and with the protests, one thing that I've been doing is reaching out to old friends from different parts of the world, because this is a global thing, and I have friends in Europe and Asia that I've been in touch with more and more in these last 3 months, and it's been really interesting. Like, we're all going through the same thing, whether you're an artist or not. Like, it's almost like this collective pain and also growth and transformation. So I've really felt that, with everybody. And it's so interesting because we're thousands of miles away in different cultures, but yet there is like this thread. So I think that's important, for my development. And one thing that I've done that has been really helpful as an artist is I have this friend, she's from Belgium, but she got stuck in Mallorca in Spain. And we're both sort of at the beginning stages of our careers and trying to establish ourselves. And because we're both not near any family, we're alone in our houses during the quarantine. What we decided to do is to check in weekly. Every week we call each other. And so one day I'll call her and we'll do video chat for like a couple hours, and we'll talk about her work. And she'll just unload all the things that she's struggling with, or do a show and tell, or we'll just talk business, marketing, like anything that's related to her work and what she's going through. And then the next day, because she's 12 hours ahead, we talk about my work. And so it's become this like routine for us. And it's been really, really helpful, especially if you're not around other artists, physically, to have somebody that you can count on to just share things. And so both during this last 2 or 3 months, we both made like short videos, or she had somebody film her, and we'll just work through everything together. And because I totally trust her aesthetic and her opinions and viewpoints on art and design, it's been really, really helpful for me. So if that helps other artists, like that's an advice that I would give to find, if you don't have a mentor, just find a colleague that has similar aesthetic sensibilities as you to help work through some of your struggles that you might be going through. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzanne. My takeaways are community has been elevated in your case, where you're communicating with friends and getting more in touch with people, and also connectivity, that we're all going through the same thing at the same time. So suddenly there's this one commonality across the globe, mm-hmm. which is very, very rare. I mean, since the flu pandemic, this is something totally unique to this generation. So that being said, I would really like to probe deeper into you both as artists. Feel free to popcorn this one. As artists, what do you see as being the outlook here, not only for yourselves, but as for society in general? Since as artists, we are the observers and commentators of society. How do you view what will come of this? Who would like to go first?
Me?
Okay.
Oh, Okay. Well, I think, in this past year, we've seen technology change things, changing so fast. It's been kind of hard to keep up. But what is really obvious, especially through COVID, is like the need for connection. And so I think that as artists, finding these new ways to engage with our audience and connect with people through technology is kind of interesting. I mean, like my work is very tactile, like it's pottery and people use it. And you would never think that, people would buy. I used to think like 5 years ago, like, oh, it'd be hard to sell ceramics online because you need to touch it and feel it. But I think that with video and with storytelling, and you can see that, with podcasts and just how this has evolved in the last few years, like the journey, the story is really important. And so there are ways where you can connect with people, even though you're not seeing the thing in person. Those methods of communication and visual storytelling are becoming quite powerful. And I think that as artists, or me as an artist, like I want to develop that further, and keep honing that within my work and how I convey my work and express it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Brother Malik?
All right. I want to make sure I hear your question clear so I can go right at your question. So.
Go on.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure I heard what you had asked prior to going on. So I wanted to make sure I knew what that was. Okay. So go ahead.
So the question was, where do you think we're going from here? What's the outlook?
Well, it's a here's the thing, that during the COVID, lockdown process, a series of things took place that took things for a spin and a change. And I'm right now in the world that I'm in as a African American male that I never thought I'd live to actually see. So those events that took place gave the nation and the world enough time to sit down and actually process that, okay, wait a minute, this is inhumane, this is not right. And we're also dealing with the fact that, you have someone who is supposed to be leading is actually doing their own thing and not necessarily totally taking the position of leadership. So it's been something that has, today, you see me I'm inside my house, I'm still bundled up and everything. I just came back from working on a mural. I'm actually now officially a Black Lives Matter muralist. I never thought there would be such a thing, but where I worked on a mural that's about 3 blocks long. And then last night, I got another call to do a mural that's going to be 9 blocks long. So and this is just really making, just doing a simple phrase, Black Lives Matter. The great thing is that there's a lot of community engagement. I am a person of community engagement. Voila, I got what I've been wanting to do, but also there's a process. And the great thing about the process is that it creates an organized culture of existence of the way that people should be. So there's something you have to do before you approach someone, right? There's something you have to prep and get ready for. If you're really going to talk to someone, they're saying, you should have a mask and those different types of things. But it's great to kind of get the world to pause before you just, reach out is really a conscious effort that I'm actually going to come and talk to you. You know, I've always been a verbal person and communicative. I just, like I said earlier in my earlier message where I talked about finding my dad, looking for my father, I actually found him and found that I had, 18 aunties and uncles, where I come from here in California. I only had 10 family members I can count on my hands. I was the first child born outside of the South. It was quite an interesting time to be in. And right now, the current thing, I've been teaching on Zoom. So now I know Zoom very well. I used to hear about it. It was foreign to me. And now I know Zoom, like I can teach about Zoom now, So I've learned a lot of interesting things that I probably would not know had we not be put in this position. So there's, I always call it lemon meringue pie. It's sour and sweet all in one.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll try to sum that up, though, of course, I could never encapsulate everything you said. But what really struck me is how we now prepare to talk to somebody. You put on your mask and I take that as a metaphor to say, don't spread your germs,
Absolutely.
Germs in quotes, for me, it's this period has sensitized me to how I approach people and how they approach me. My personal space has become more activated. But the beauty of it, like you said, opportunities have come out of it. And like Suzanne said, technology has really jumped into the forefront and opened up other avenues for us to explore as artists. So I'm really excited that there's a positive spin coming out of this sourness. And we're seeing you thrive, more opportunities coming to you, and the work goes on. So that's really a beautiful way to sum it up and open it up for questions. So at this juncture, I would like to thank you both for your comments, and both inspiring from both ends. And now I would like to open up the floor. If there's anybody who would like to ask questions or make a comment, we are now open. No? All right. So while people think about it, if you don't mind my sharing, personally, I'm a father of 2, divorced for 3 years. So this pandemic hit as I was just healing. And I lived with a family and an elderly family. And it just dawned on me that because we don't know anything about the virus, I could be putting them in danger. If anything happens to them, God forbid, I would be the one, I couldn't live with that. So responsibility fell on my shoulders so heavy that I sacrificed everything to look for another place. And for me, it was a hard decision to make, but just the idea of harming another human being unintentionally so was something I couldn't bear. But by the same token, when I look at it, it's the unity, the way people have been brought together, the way people communicate more, has been such a positive spin out of this whole endeavor. So that's my piece on that. Does anybody want to add to the discussion?
Yeah, I actually have a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Back to what Malik was saying earlier about how I feel like he touched on it, but just the fact that the pandemic hit and then the series of lives that were lost, and we're not in the normal state where we're like, getting up, going through our routine, getting to work, or whatever it is we usually do. Everything is stopped. And so these things have happened before. and then they're gone because, you know, it seems like they happen, they go away. You're outraged, and then it happens again, and then you get caught back up into life, and it's like over and over and over again. But this time it feels like we're all sitting around digesting it. You know? And it's been a real roller coaster too. I've been trying to make as much art as possible and get out my emotions and how I'm feeling, you know, through that, and keep busy with that. And like Suzanne said, you know, I have weeks where you know, I just feel like I could conquer the world. You know, I'm volunteering, I'm working my ass off, I'm doing all these things, and then it'll you know, just hit me, and I will not want to get out of my bed, and I'll just be like, everything seems so monotonous, and I don't want to, you know, participate anymore, and then I have to wait for that to go away, and then lock myself away, like Malik said, and let myself be creative too. I don't know if that's kind of all over the place with that, but those are just my thoughts on what you guys said.
Gotcha.
Beautifully put. I feel I should talk about. I usually don't like to talk about personal issues, but like Brother Malik said, this time where we had nothing else to do but sit around, you know, you couldn't go anywhere, limited distractions, you're focused, and for once we were faced with something we could not run away from, you know, something that had happened before, something we had to confront and deal with. And for the first time in quarantine, I saw myself for who I was. You know, I was separated by distance and by time from being George Floyd. You know, just simply because of the color of my skin. And that shook me to the core, and to the point that I began to ask, what does this all mean? You know, where do we stand in this world as Black people? Who are my friends? Who are my connections? Who do I trust? Who don't I trust? You know, what's the mark of the beast? How do you tell? And all I wanted to see that officer's eyes. That's all I wanted to see. I wanted to see what the eyes of a killer looked like. And I waited for his picture. I waited for it, and it dawned on me that, you know, the ideas we spin, some of them take a life of their own and become our automatic habits, you know. And this is a time where we're faced with a choice. Do we undo old ideas? Do we face them and undo them? Do we face the reality that, yeah, I have to talk to my kids. I have to tell them, this is dad, you know, this is dad in America. And tomorrow might be a different day, you know. So as an artist, I began to look at my work and saying, okay, what's my next piece going to be about? You know, is it going to be about the allies who've spoken up? Is it going to be about my daughters who are mixed? What am I going to tell them? You know, what am I going to tell my African-American brothers about our connection? I'm African, you're African-American. I'm neither African-American nor African anymore because I've been away from Africa too long. I'm not from America. I'm caught in between. I'm a drifter. So at the end of the day, what does it all mean? And I just came to the conclusion that the purity of your heart is what will carry you. And, you know, yeah, I'm blessed to be surrounded by people who've got purity in their hearts. So I'll end it there because Wes has his hand up.
I want to say that it's really the cause of being a earthling. I don't think any of us have heard that in a while since cartoons, right? Earthling, to be a earthling, you know? And so it's not so much about being a drifter. You know, the first group of people to circumnavigate the globe were called crossers. And it just simply meant meant someone who crossed the globe, who crossed the sea, who crossed the landmass, you know. So, when we get into the politics of placement, we begin to create a circumstance for a perspective that's beyond our own psychological reach a lot of times, because, you know, we're dealing with a body and an august group, a small knit group of people who are deciding who's going to be what at what time, right?
Yeah.
You know, it all changes, you know, when you're riding a Lexus or you're driving a broken down Ford, right? So if you're driving a broken down Ford, you might look a little different. But if you're driving a nice shiny Lexus with the nice shiny windows and rims, you know, you might look a little different. You might even get approached different. And me, I've worn, you know, the best of suits and everything. I more love wearing my art clothes, but when I have to get dressed up, I can get dressed up, and I've felt the difference. You know, a friend of mine by the name of Bayate, he's a great artist who has done this huge project called the Black Male Project, and his project is in every museum throughout the world. Actually, he had a project where he had Black males asking questions about what it means to be a man. And this is just Black males from all walks of life. And he has, you know, celebrities and everything, but somehow he thought I should start it. And so when you go in and you look at it, my face without the gray is there asking the question. And he told me one day when we were talking on Instagram, because we hadn't talked to each other in years, he said, you know, I just wanted to make sure you knew that, you know, you're in every major museum throughout the world. And I had to double look. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Okay, what's the joke here, you know? He's like, no, man, you're in, you know, we got that the installation in all of the major museums. And I said, okay, that's wow, it kind of released something in my head, you know, because as artists, we're working so hard to just be seen by these institutions. I mean, in this point, I don't have any art in there. My face is in there. I'm part of an art project. So maybe I'm the acrylic on the canvas, right? But in the process of this, it just kind of opened up a lot of things. You know, I always say that your perspective guides your perception, which leads to your predicament. Now, that's a difficult thing when we're dealing with a world where a man's trying to get his life together. We don't know, you know, I've done some homework on it. It seems like they worked in the same place at a certain time, but I've never met the individuals. But when I saw the face of Mr. Floyd, I saw something in me. And I think that's what we see when we meet people genuinely. When you meet someone genuinely, you actually meet a part of yourself, you know? And so as we meet new people, we actually come to know more about ourselves. And sometimes, many times, people who don't get outside of the circle of their inner circle, fear draws up because, hey, I don't even know this individual. How does he feel so close to me? I think push back. I'm going to say something to push back, you know, that type of thing, you know, or I'm going to do something to say you're not a part of me. Maybe I have that struggle with my own self, you know. So these are all of the different things that kind of go through our minds. But us as creators, as artists, as makers, we're agents of imagination. You know, we are the ones who decide how someone is going to imagine. You know, if they see a piece of artwork of any of ours, or if those of us, I see a young man, he's on the right in the studio, right where I want to be. Amazing spot, by the way, right? And, yeah, exactly, right? So my mantra is remain creative, right? Because the mantra, if we take the mantra of remaining creative, now we have the decision to be human, because the first human activity is to be creative.
Beautiful.
You know, and then after that, we create relationships. We create things. We practice doing that by building relationships at home. Hopefully we have a good bustling family that supports that. And then we go into the world and we create the same exact thing that was created at home. So that says a lot about the homes of America. You know, I mean, who are we today? I think we're more human than we've ever been. And that's what you're seeing on your screen. I think that's what you're feeling in your heart when you say, oh, what is this crazy thing happening? And I say it's called being an earthling, being human on earth.
Wow. Very eloquently put. Thank you so much for that. Whew, so many takeaways, but I won't go into that because Wes has had his hand raised. So Wes, just 1 second, sir. I have to, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I can only speak for myself, but I'm actually in the process of rebuilding my website. And so, but also just from using Instagram and using the video stories, and it's so easy to make videos now on an app like on Vimeo or iMovie, and they don't need to be very long. I think that's a way to, there's a way that we as artists can learn and start practicing to tell our own stories, and we don't need to spend thousands of dollars to hire somebody to do it for us. You know, it can be, yeah, you can explore all that. You can do it very quirky, or it could just be like simple, or you can just be talking to yourself like a journaling. But I think there's so much potential to explore that realm and to share what you want to say by capturing these things through video, and then editing it in a certain way so that it's concise and like effective, and people get right away what you're trying to convey. So I still have yet to see how this is going to work out, but I think on my website in the future, the way it's going to look, it's not just going to be static images of product or artwork. It'll be snippets of moving images. And I'm working with the designer, but to me, that's more like you're entering a world instead of like a website with just, you know. So I think that is exciting to me, and I want to explore more of that. I've looked at a lot of artists' websites, and usually, we're so busy making. We just want to make. We don't want to be dealing with all that website, product descriptions and pricing and all that stuff. But at some point, somebody has to do it, or you have to think about it and know what you want to, how you want to present yourself. And so I think we're entering hopefully a new phase or realm where as creators, that in order to sustain a living, we have to sell our work. And so how that presents itself to people is going to be more and more important.
Yes.
So I've been sort of talking with people about that and thinking about that in terms of, being a working artist, making a living.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. It's almost 8:30. So what I'll do is, initially I told Jess and Wes that, nah, I'm too tired. I don't want to stay around here too long. But what we'll do is we'll round it up now, but we'll allow the discussion to roll on, people to just interact, but we'll officially just close it off. And so firstly, I would just like to thank everybody who came. I would like to really thank Suzanne and Malik for agreeing to do this without knowing what it's about. I deeply respect that, because you trusted me and you just came along and did what I asked without asking what it is. And the last takeaway I would really like to tie it up beautifully, because Suzanne, if you don't mind, I'm going to share something we discussed before in a couple of weeks back and tie it to what Brother Malik said. Brother Malik, you mentioned building relationships and in the home, and then carrying those relationships into the world. And you summed it up by saying, what kind of homes do we have in America? Who are we in America? I think that's such a powerful question for us to ask, because whether we like it or not, we are all Americans. And my pain will be your pain, because that's how it works. You can't see pain and not feel it. You can't ignore that. We're connected, we're interconnected. And I'd like to tie that back to what Suzanne said in a discussion we had some time back about finding resources in your community. Simply by talking to people, you find somebody is a graphic designer, is a web designer. And I would like to mention that that community aspect is helping you, Suzanne, achieve your dream now, because people with skills around you are helping you realize that, right? And Brother Malik, I've known you for some time, and I would just like to say, for those who don't know Malik, he's just the most generous guy. He's really wise and generous with his wisdom also. He will give you the time to speak to you if you would like to get in a conversation. And the wisdom that you have given me over the years, I don't know if you know it, but we met at the Art Fair in Alameda by Studio 23 some years back. And I was new to America, and your words of wisdom really gave me a foundation to say, you know what, there's somebody you can call on. So just that sense of community you gave me was so powerful in my moment of need. And I just like to applaud you for the leadership you're providing, not only to the youth, but also to the community. Your kindness and your okay, I won't go on about that. At that juncture, I would just like to say, thank you all for coming through to this discussion. At some point, I was hesitant to go through it, because the last thing I want to do is bring depression into people's homes. And with Zoom, I'm in your home, you're in mine. Those boundaries have been crossed. And I just want to say thank you so much for the positive energy you brought through. I was tired, I was done for the day, but you guys just uplifted me, and thank you. With that being said, we're officially off the record and the party begins. Thank you all for coming, and I really appreciate what you did for us.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody too. I was feeling the same way, just beat, tired, exhausted. Oh. And it's nice to communicate with other artists and listen to what's going on, with other artists and how they're pushing through this. It's really helpful.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll say our goodbyes. Where we come from, we have to say goodbye and go well in your journey, because we never know, you know?
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys.
Oh, if anybody wants to look at, sorry, Suzanne, if anybody wants to look at Suzanne or Malik's work, they can go to Second Friday, FridayArtWalk.com, and they're listed there and on social media too. Just
Oh,
saying.
great. Thank you.
Awesome.
I just wanted to say, like, you know, the protests and everything, I think I talked about it. Maybe not everyone was on the Zoom meeting, but there's been a lot of things happening in Hawaii too. And, but it's been such a great, I just feel like, for me, just finding new definitions, and to talk about racism and the discomfort in it has been like it's just been a great opportunity to, like, we just started a book club. We're going to read, you know, how to be an anti-racist. And it's so much dialogue for people, especially people that are white, and it's even for Asians, you know, it's just, I think, even though there's been so much horrible things that have happened, I see a positive that's coming out of this. And I have to hold on to that hope, you know?
Amen.
Beautiful. Wow. All right. Well, hello, Harry. Hello, Sherry. Okay, muted. So let me just unmute everybody so that unmute.
So yesterday I moved the portrait one over because it was in the sun and I didn't want that to happen. So
oh, wow.
Great to see you.
Yeah, it is.
Great to see you. I just love your work. It's just wonderful.
Awesome. Thank
and
you.
I'm very fortunate to have had one of the early ones when
That's
you first came here, right?
I'm honored. Really honored.
Oh, it's wonderful. Good to see you.
Everybody should definitely take a chance. Everybody should definitely take a chance to check out Malik's artwork. We actually have a piece of Malik's artwork, and he's amazing. So I know you'll really enjoy checking it out too. It's beautiful. So.
Did we miss a video of her work? Because we've only just tuned in.
We missed the whole thing.
Did we miss the video?
There are links to their website.
Oh, okay.
On FridayArtWalk.com, so you can check out their art there.
Oh, I will. Absolutely. Yes.
Time means nothing to us these days.
What day is it? What day is it? Oh, you mean it's Friday? Oh, jeez.
So I'd just like to mention that Suzanne has also a fantastic video that documents her residency, right?
Yeah, I did an apprenticeship in Japan a couple years ago. And there was like 11-minute documentary that was filmed for Hawaiian Airlines.
Oh.
So it just, shows me going to Japan and studying under a master potter there. So you can find it on my website.
Oh, great.
So this will be on the Second Friday videos that are available. Is that correct?
It'll be on the links to their sites are on the FridayArtWalk.com site.
Perfect. Okay, great. Definitely.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to shamelessly plug. I'm just going to ask you guys to carry this note with you, this mental note. In this time where people are in need of conversation, there are voices that can be heard because they speak with a tone that can be digested. Then there are voices that cannot be heard. I would like to introduce to you a voice that can be heard, speaks from a place of wisdom, love, and care. And if you ever need somebody to speak on life, please contact Brother Malik. He is a fantastic teacher. I kid you not. And when I say teacher, when somebody sits down with you and for 3 minutes, and then you're like, oh, that's what it's about, opening up that perspective. so beautifully, but so gently and almost like effortlessly. So please, if you know people who want to get conversation going, your point person is Brother Malik. I highly recommend that, you know.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Take care, Victor.
Said,
Take care, Victor.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, lovely people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No, thank you guys. I'm surrounded by beautiful people. I just realized that. Amazing people.
Likewise, of course.
Thank you, Victor.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.